7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Let's call this regularly stated meeting to order. Katie, please collect the roll.
Mrs. Melius,
Hello.
here. Mr. Ewing,
Present.
thank you. Mrs. Sealing, here. Mr. Updike,
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Here.
Mr. Anderson.
Here. Very good. Well, we'll start off with a pretty exciting thing to swear in newly elected board members. So, Katie, would you
Yes.
please swear them in?
If I can get Sharon Mitchell and Nicole Melius to stand. Mr. Ewing, you can just repeat after me over Zoom. Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
as a member of the Board of Education of Spring Hill Unified School District number 230.
as a member of the Board of Education of Spring Hill Unified School District 230.
Perfect. In accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
In accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the laws of the State of Kansas,
the laws of the State of Kansas,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
God.
We'll take just a 2 or 3 minute break and you can take a few pictures if you have folks here to do that. We'll just take, we're adjourned or we are at recess until 7:05.
None of my family came.
Congratulations, Nicole, Sharon, and Keith, where I guess he's not here. So it's Keith. Congratulations. Looking forward to serving with you and working with you over the next few years. So please, next step on our agenda is actually approval of the agenda.
Mr. President, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Katie, please collect the vote.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mrs. Sealing,
Yes.
Mr. Updike,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
and Mrs. Melius. Yes. Approved.
Very good. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Thank you. And thank you, board, for being here. Thank you for all of you out in the audience for being here at this. It's always good to have participation. Next item on our agenda is the election of board members, and the election of the board president is the first item.
I'd like to nominate Doug Updike for president, board president.
Thank you.
I'd like to nominate Sharon Mitchell for vice president.
Okay, we'll
Oh,
work
we do
through
that. Okay.
president first,
Okay,
and
later.
then we'll come back to vice president. All right, good. Any other nominations?
I'd just like to say that I think right now there's a lot of things going on in our world, and just I think Doug has done a really good job of keeping everything even keel. And so
Thank you.
I'd really be very supportive of you continuing to be board president. And I think you've conducted everything very well. So.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you and Nels and the board members. So, any other final nominations? Do we do a verbal vote then?
If there is only one nomination, we do a verbal vote.
Okay. So it's moved to elect Doug Updike as the board president for the following year. We don't have to have a second. right?
Nope.
So Katie, please collect the vote.
You got it. Mrs. Sealing,
Yes.
Mr. Updike,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes. Yes.
Mrs. Melius. Yes. And Mr. Ewing.
Yes.
Approved.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's an honor to serve on this board. So I think thank you very much. Moving on to the election of a board vice president.
Okay, now I nominate Sharon Mitchell as board vice president.
All right. Any other nominations? Yeah.
All right, we will start the vote with Mr. Updike.
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Melius. Yes. Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mrs. Sealing.
Yes.
Approved.
Very good.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
Sharon.
Congratulations, Sharon. It'll be good to serve with you. It'll be
Looking
fun.
forward to it.
All right. Moving on to our next agenda item, which is student advisory members. Dr. Burke.
Yeah, we hopefully these two young ladies are very familiar to you. We got I just went Coral Cullen and then Corinne. Did I say that wrong? Yes. Callan. I'm sorry, I wrote it down wrong. And then Corinne Harris. I was so worried about saying Corinne's name the right way that I apologize. So I will turn it over to these two young ladies.
You want to go?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Corinne Harris.
I'm Coral Callan. And okay, we can get started talking about our last meeting. It was on December 16th, I believe. We talked about, oh, this was cool. Our school nutritionist came. And it was really cool to hear about because, you know, teenagers and their food, they love to hear about it. And our friends had a lot of questions about the changes with this recent school lunches and stuff.
We got to learn about like the way that the food is shipped. So we knew like if there's shipping issues and why there are some that are coming in and some that are not. So like some things that we have to eat for lunch are less sodium because that there's like a thing that is for our school district that says that we have to have this much sodium or this much stuff. So it was really helpful to know, hey, this is why we have this instead of like regular Doritos, we have like 20% less sodium. So it was really nice to know how much was in it and why we had it.
Yes, for sure. And then our homecoming that we decided upon is Saturday, the February 5th, which is super exciting. That's coming up. So the next people that come in will probably give you updates on how that went. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it goes great. We sure hope to like continue going on with that. Yeah, pretty much the big topic has been the nutrition and everything with all the questions. Another big thing was like our peanut butter jelly sandwiches, the size changes are different. And like, it's a very like everyone notices, and it's cool to see the difference of like the high school to the middle schoolers and like getting to talk with them about things that affect them, but also affect us. So that's really cool.
just being able to talk with each other, once again, like we said last meeting, it's really a great opportunity. And thank you guys for so much for letting us talk here and being able to talk there, because it just feels like more freedom for the students and more say from the students to be able to represent ourselves in front of you guys and in front of our fellow peers. Yeah.
Do you have anything in particular you'd like for us to like talk about or like get across with our peers or anything?
Just, I guess, you and Dr. Burke have met since we met in December,
Mhm.
right? Do you recall, or what were the topics of discussion and the outcomes of that?
In like
that
previous, in
conversation?
like the previous meetings and stuff?
Yeah, between. Sure.
So we talked a lot about Bronco assistance. That was a big one. I know we mentioned that last time we were here. That was huge. And because it affected, well, it's going to affect them coming up, and it's really affecting us now with the change of schedule and like timing things. So that was a big topic we discussed. The homecoming obviously was a big one. It's just a bunch of little things like that, and like things that are going on in the high school in particular, like little things such as talking over the intercoms. I don't know if you've heard about those problems, like specific problems that we are all going through, and like solutions that we as students can help like spread to our peers and make them aware, and like the consequences of their actions and stuff like that. So that's been a big thing for sure.
Good.
Yeah, I was very impressed. The students brought up that the vandalism and the TikTok, whatever.
Yeah.
The students brought up that while some kids think that's a lot of fun, it's causing grief for the students that maybe not enjoying that as much. You know, when a bathroom has to be closed or they go into there and they don't have the things that they need in there that you normally go into a restroom for. And so I thought it was really interesting that they're the ones that brought it to us and said, you know, these are concerns. What can we do to help? And so that was great something that they brought to us that I was very impressed with.
Today, we came in during advisory and just the 8th grade class, and Mr. Gertson back there presented a video about inspiration. And then he talked about afterwards, like the school being vandalized and the expectations per usual. But I felt like everybody coming together as a group and us getting to say things and like mention things to each other. I heard in the hallway saying like, yeah, guys, if you're doing this isn't really not cool, or people just saying how I've heard the expectations a million times, but that was different. Like people just being able to come together in a group is really awesome. And the vandalism is ridiculous and it should not be a thing, but we've had to have bathrooms locked, which is not only an inconvenience for students, but also an inconvenience for teachers. And I would just like to appreciate people like this, not only the students are being inconvenienced, but yes, the teachers. And I wish people could just realize that. And we realized it today that we're not only affecting ourselves, but we're also affecting the teachers and the principals even around us by making everybody not as happy to be in school. It's about learning, and it's not about vandalizing things and making other people unhappy when we're just there to have a good learning space and we're destroying it.
For sure. I absolutely agree. It's crazy how it's like affecting the 6th graders up to
Yes.
seniors in high school. Like it is insane. And like, it's really cool again to talk with them and see that, okay, well, this is bothering me. Oh, it's bothering you too. Like we have to find a solution to fix this. So it's been really good to talk and everything. Yes.
They'll tell you, we do not have, we have an agenda that's kind of keeps us online, but there's really no topics on there other than I say, you have to bring topics and then you have to participate. And then the only other thing that I do is I push them a little bit to make sure that there's all kinds of leaders in a school, and some are very easily identified and some are not. And so their job is to go reach out to all these different leaders and to get input. So we do talk about getting out of your comfort zone and making sure that if you're representative, you're truly representative of everybody in your school. But as for an agenda, we really don't have anything specific other than ideas. And so I think one of the things that Coral was asking the board is there anything specifically that you want this committee to be exploring, talking about, discussing? So,
Well, one thing I think that would be really helpful, and maybe this will already be kind of orchestrated through our KASB, but finding out like what interactions you have with the superintendent, students have with the superintendent, and what you'd like to see in a new superintendent. Since we're going to be in the middle of that all semester, I think that would be really helpful for us to hear your perspectives on that.
That can be another topic we talk about too. I mean, if that doesn't make Dr. Burke too uncomfy
Yes.
at the meetings to just talk about like what, because obviously Dr. Burke does a great job. And so we can talk about some like his qualities we like. And like, it's very interesting to see like what Q might like in Dr. Burke might be something that I like differently about Dr. Burke. So it could be cool to like, it's very good.
So I just love hearing the feedback too. So the first thing, I know that some people might think it's just a homecoming dance, but I feel like you maybe need to say Saturday 5 more times, right?
Yeah, I know. It's
How's the
crazy.
feedback been? since-
It's been good. When we first went over, like, I remember I was in the lunch line and I was like, guys, like, you'll never believe, because Mr. Williams, like, I was like, am I able to like tell? And he comes up, he's like, yeah. And I was like, sweet. And I was like, we have a Saturday dance. And they're like, what? Like, we have a Saturday dance. And I was like, yeah. And then immediately, like, everyone knew about it. So everyone's like super anxious. And now the prom's coming up too, it's making it that much more exciting. Like, everything's so like super exciting. Yes.
I'm glad that happened for your senior year too.
Yes.
And then what kind of feedback are you hearing from the students on Bronco assistance? What's the general?
So at first, I know Mr. Williams was pretty nervous about how the students were going to take it. And honestly, I didn't know like at all. And so I went over and I was just kind of like started with my friends and seeing how they reacted. And as I explained to them, like, it was super helpful knowing like the exact situation, like knowing how the didn't approve in like specific areas were approving, and that we just were almost unlucky with it all. And so it was really good. And people were super understanding, way more than I expected, to be honest.
So I think that's one good thing about this too. It's kind of a liaison. It isn't just,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can go back and tell them that it definitely was not our Board of Education.
Right. And it's
made
helped
that
spread like the
decision.
positivity to
Yes.
like keeping it. And I know, again, with the lunch thing, people will be like, well, why do we have this? Why did this get taken away? Like, do we just not get any more? Well, no, they're not making
Yes.
it. We know this because of this meet, like, and it's actually been super helpful. They're like, oh, like this happened just the other day at lunch. So it's actually really helpful.
Yeah.
With just little things too.
Well, thanks for being the voice and the ears.
Yes,
appreciate
of
you.
course.
And we can follow up. When I say we, Mr. Williams, Mr. Wilson and I are going to be meeting with Dr. Randy Watson and Craig Niswanger and Brad Niswanger, and going to continue discussing this. So right now, the way it's set up by the auditor, we still cannot use it the way we've been using it because it cost us so much time. So we're still working on ways to figure out a system that we can get what we want and need and still meet the minutes that are required by the state without having to add minutes at the end of the year or worry about taking away snow days. So we haven't quit, but one of the things that we're thinking about is we might try to take a couple of students with us. And so if students are willing to go out and sit down and talk to them and say, this is why it's important, and maybe the adults have a way of talking and glazing over things, but sometimes students get right to the core of the issue. So we may be talking about volunteers for that soon.
Okay. All right.
Very good. Thank you. We appreciate you coming in.
Thanks
Look
for
forward to-
listening.
Yeah.
We're super excited about this. So
Good.
thank you.
Good. We are as well. I'm moving on to recognitions. Dr. Burke.
The first one is I'm gonna turn a couple of these over to Mrs. Hackney. She's on her way down. This is first of all, anytime you get to listen and talk to students, that's pretty amazing. So I can tell you we're very fortunate. These two young ladies are very representative of a very highly intelligent group. But with that, we have another group of people we want to talk about that's very exciting. So,
Absolutely. Allison Daniels, if you'll come on up. Got some really exciting news here. The Kansas Horizon Award Program, sponsored by the Kansas Department of Education, identifies and recognizes representatives of excellent teaching in elementary and secondary classrooms in the state. The mission of the Horizon Award Program is to recognize exemplary first-year teachers who perform in such a way that distinguishes them as outstanding. So only 32 teachers across Kansas in their second year of teaching are recognized for this honor out of hundreds of thousands of nominations. So 32. Ms. Allison Daniels is a State Horizon Award winner. I want to tell you a little bit about Allie. She's only in her second year at Spring Hill School District. She's gained a great deal of respect from students, parents, administration, staff, for her exceptional teaching abilities and her involvement in the preschool program. You may know her by her alter ego, Scientist Sally. If you watch any of the videos that are on Facebook from the early childhood program, you'll see Scientist Sally making her wonderful science teaching known. She's bringing the scientific process to our earliest learners. It's quite amazing, to be honest with you. She's a graduate of K-State with a BS in elementary education and a master's in early childhood education with an area of concentration in special education. And I checked your transcript to make sure this was accurate, a 4.0. So if I believe you have some guests out in the audience, you can take the mic and introduce your guests.
Okay. I brought with me my mom and dad tonight. They're pretty awesome, so I couldn't be here without them.
I think
This is, I was going to say that when Dr. Watson calls, and so the winner gets a phone call from the Commissioner of Education. And when he says there are literally thousands of Horizon Award winners or candidates, and they only pick 32, he's really trying to emphasize this is a huge deal. So she should be commended.
And Dr. Burke, I did look back from its inception in 2016. We have had a state Horizon Award winner in Spring Hill every year except for 2017. So you're in great company and we're so very proud of you. Take one more round of applause for Allie here.
So the next on the agenda is a totally different group. These are our elected board members. This is Board Appreciation Month. And so we want to, first of all, you've never had an easy job. And in the last couple of years, it's been incredibly, incredibly hard. And so the fact that you do this every year and that you continue to do it, we certainly appreciate it. We're going to continue to give you that raise that we give you every year. So we're going to put a 0 on the front or back end of your contract. And so whatever you got, you're going to multiply that by 0, and that's what you're getting from us. So, but we do want to say thank you for your dedication to the school district, the students, the staff, the kids, and all of us. So Katie's going to pass these out. And while she's passing that out, I think we should stand and give our board members a round of applause.
Well, thank you, Dr. Burke, and all those that were a part of this. It's very thoughtful. Thank you.
So we got some more that we're going to recognize. So Ms. Hackney.
Okay, back up here. One of our most popular employee wellness initiatives is Spring Hill on the Move. It actually starts tomorrow. One of the really great things about Spring Hill on the Move is getting our employees active, and there's a nice healthy competition involved with that. In addition to that, we have the opportunity each year to come up with a theme. And from that theme, we turn that over to our high school graphic arts class, our arts department, to design a t-shirt for the Spring Hill on the Move program. This year's theme is Walk This Way. And you think about Walk This Way, hopefully a little Aerosmith comes to mind. We just give them the theme and they go from there. We had 27 entries this year. And from those 27, our wellness committee, made up of 27 individuals, chooses a design as the winning design. Most of the time each year, we don't just go with that design as is. We oftentimes send it back to the winner for some revisions to tweak it a little bit, making it a really nice real world activity. 339 of our employees are registered to start Spring Hill on the Move, and we are looking forward to getting our t-shirts in soon. I want to show you the winning artist. This is Riley Serpent. Riley is a senior at Spring Hill High School. She is the daughter of Shonda and actually Deputy Scott Serpent, who's back in the corner there. Riley was unable to make it tonight. She has club volleyball, but she will be the proud owner of a $50 Amazon gift card for her hard work. I'm told by Riley's dad that she plans on attending Kansas Wesleyan on a volleyball and academic scholarship. I was waiting to hear a graphic artist. She is going to be in sports medicine, but is going to probably design some of the most awesome work on the side. I want to show you the logo this year. It's going to be on a heather gray t-shirt, no pocket. This is the design. Got some nice little people walking and whatnot. Kind of getting the rock and roll theme going. It'll be a big design on the front of the t-shirt with Holmes Murphy, who does pay for our t-shirts, on the side. So we will be getting those t-shirts in. So hopefully she'll be able to watch this later, but let's give Riley a big round of applause for this winning design.
So first up for the schools is Mrs. Darcy Sly, and she is at Dayton Creek Elementary School.
Yes, good evening. Tonight, I'd like to recognize my instructional coach, Ariel Jankert, my reading interventionist, Katie Smith, and my math interventionist, Kathy Blanchard, and their para, Carrie Martinez. They have done incredible work with all of the winter testing that we've just gone through before break. And then making up all those tests, if you can imagine the number of students not at school because of illnesses and vacations around that time, making up tests can be a difficult thing, a difficult task. And they've done a great job. And not only making up the test and doing all the testing with the students, but then looking at the data once we've gotten back and trying to decide what is it, where do we go from here? What do we need to do? What do we need to tweak? How can I support the teachers? And so it's been they've been very helpful, and I just wanted to recognize them and tell them thank you.
Beth Cooper from Wolf Creek.
We have a handful of teachers from Wolf Creek who are out right now for long-term leave. And so I'm not going to name names because I think there might be a little bit of a confidentiality thing involved there. But I wanted to recognize all the work that they do to prepare for those leaves. You would expect them to write some lesson plans, but they leave things like notebooks full of information on things like student learning plans and student behavior needs. They leave lots of information about technology, how to log on, passwords, and things like that. They organize their classrooms and clean, and many of them leave buckets of materials for every day and every week that they're going to be gone. And just the other day, I walked into a classroom and saw a video of the teacher who was on leave being shown by the long-term substitute. And the teacher had recorded herself introducing the topic because she wanted to be the one to introduce that topic to her children. So they put in so much work to make sure that that long-term substitute has success and that their children have success while they're gone. And I think that just kind of shows the level of quality that we have for our teachers and the dedication. So just wanted to thank them tonight, even though I can't name their names.
Mika Bauer, Timber Sage.
Good evening. Tonight, I would like to recognize all of our teaching staff at Timber Sage Elementary School. As a new principal, I feel so fortunate to have a teaching staff who is truly all in for all of our students in the Timber Sage community. Our teachers are reflective practitioners who always take time to celebrate success while always looking for ways to improve. Our teachers never go into things alone. They're always there right by each other's side, whether they're collaborating within grade levels or across grade levels to implement new curriculum, implement new procedures, or maybe engage in problem solving for a student who needs some extra support. I'm very thankful that this incredibly talented group of teaching staff has chosen to do their life's work at Timber Sage. Thank you.
I believe Mrs. Cole is ill, and so Tammy Endicott from Spring Hill Elementary School.
Good evening. I wanted to just say and recognize the Chiefs organization. They have been really good to us. Not only did they give us all these books, but they recently, last week, reached out to me and said, "Hey, will your school be involved in a contest and have a Spirit Week for the Chiefs being in the playoffs this week?" And we're like, "Well, sure, we love Spirit Weeks." And so they said, if you fill out the link and get everything in, you have the chance to win 30 Chiefs backpacks to give out to students. I don't even think it was an hour after I sent it in and they're like, "Tammy, we're sending you 30 backpacks." And they're nice backpacks. And so the kids are super excited. That's why I am a little dressed down today. They're super excited. We have different days that the Chiefs organization put in place. But they've been really good to us. And I just look forward to continuing to see what we can, pair up with them and do, because they provided a lot of stuff for our school, and I appreciate that. On a in-school note, I wanted to recognize Joanne Keckley. She is our gifted teacher, and she does an excellent job. And maybe I'm a little biased because she used to teach fifth grade in my building as well. But I watch her teach our gifted students, and my daughter was in the gifted program as she went through school. And a lot of our gifted students struggle to make decisions and with perfectionism. And she does such an excellent job of pushing our students out of their comfort zone, but still making sure they're successful and feeling that success, and really finding projects that those kids are super into and letting it go. She's so great at the flexibility of letting it go wherever it goes, wherever the students take it. And it's really fun to watch. And she also, in our building, she facilitates the continental math. In our building, she does it for students who want to be involved in it, because it is a very hard, I don't like continental math. I'm not a math person, but it's very hard. And so for some of our kids, it's too much, but she opens it up to anybody who's wanting to do it. And then she really supports them. And so I wanted to recognize her because I really appreciate the job she does with our gifted students.
Rod Sprague from Woodland Spring.
So good evening. I want to talk middle school transition tonight. We're one of the lucky ones in middle school. We get to transition kids into school, and we get to transition them to high school. So we get it on both ends in a very short period of time. We've already started high school transition, 8th grade to high school transition. We're working with Clay Freegon and the CTE staff, and they're coming in about once every 2 weeks, and they're doing workshops on each one of the CTE pathways with our kids. They're bringing high school students and teachers from the high school. They're talking to them about what each pathway is about, giving them some experience in each pathway, and talking to them about the things they can do with that pathway. But the greatest thing is that our students get to talk to high school students about what they're learning, and it gets them really excited. So it's really kind of exciting to me to see these pieces coming together for high school. One of the things that I remember when I first came here, our middle school kids really didn't know what the CTE pathways were. This gets them excited. They kind of have a better plan. When they're starting to build that course of study for high school, they have a really good plan for what they're doing. I also want to recognize Amy Wells. She's doing a lot of work preparing for 5th grade to middle school transition. And I'm really excited about that. We're talking about things that we're going to do in trying to get out to their schools, but also bringing the kids into our buildings, bringing the parents into our building, and doing some things with that. So we're really excited about those opportunities. And also I want to recognize Amy Wells. School counselors, I don't know if we recognize them enough around this time of year. We've added 13 new kids to our school in the past week. And she has coordinated with our instructional coach, our media specialist, to do all the transition for those kids into the building. That's also getting their schedules written, getting their schedules made, making sure they understand all the locker combinations, all of that stuff. But then she put together an orientation program where they learn about their MacBooks, and everything all at once in one day. So those kids come in, and it's really intimidating to come into a new school. And she's done a fantastic job with that. So thank you.
Trevor Gertson, Spring Hill Middle.
I will echo what Rod said about Clay Freegon, that it's been an outstanding thing for our kids to have an opportunity to be exposed to different career pathways. Had a young lady last week that I was talking to that said she always thought she was going to be a cosmetologist, which is a wonderful career. But after going to the health professions cluster, she realized, I think I might want to do something different. And she wants to go into the health professions cluster and be a physical therapist. So again, as Rod said, it's opening kids up to opportunities the sooner as they think about their plans moving forward. The other recognition I want to have is for our instructional coach, Katie Sibbett, for the work she's done with her MTSS work this year, as well as our testing. She is a new coach to us. She came out of the math classroom. That in and of itself is a challenge when you go from being a classroom teacher to a little more of a loose environment. I shouldn't say loose, but a little more freedom within your day. And so she's adjusted to going from the classroom where you have 8 periods to as an instructional coach, where she's able to move in and out of classrooms, work with teachers, help with their assessment. But she's been pivotal in the success we've had with her MTSS this year. So we have 6 teachers. I believe I've mentioned them all before. Taylor Woodward and Angela Johnson and Chris Edstrom all do our math work for us. And then Andrea Carley, Megan Story, and Ashley Jasper do our ELA work. And so they work closely with Katie Sibbett, looking at our FastBridge data, making adjustments. We have groups of kids that come in every 2 to 3 weeks. And so a different group comes in, gets additional support during our win time, which is what I need, takes place during 4th hour. It's been really cool to see the supports that kids are getting because it's the things they need academically. We've even seen kids make full year growth within a semester within the math world. And so that is a testament to not only the curriculum that we have access to, or the resources we have access to, but also the hard work of those teachers. Because we know nothing replaces a good teacher, no matter what program you have. It's not about the program, it's about the good teachers, and we have the best.
Mario Williams from Spring Hill High School.
First, I'd like to start out by thanking you guys for your service and being on the school board and your support of the staff and students at Spring Hill High School. We really greatly appreciate that. I'm going to echo what Rod says. I'm very fortunate to work with 3 outstanding individuals in my counseling department, Katie George, Deb Wolfter, and Kimberly Devine. They work tirelessly hours during the school day and then in the evenings. Right now, they're finalizing or fixing students' second semester schedules. Then we're talking pre-enrollment for incoming freshmen and our existing students. And then we have graduation and then the building the master schedule for next year. So I really appreciate all their work and dedication that they do. And last but not least, I'd like to recognize Gary Howard. He's the Assistant Principal Activities Director at the high school. This gentleman is a true pleasure to be with and to work with and have a member of our team. He is well respected by our staff and by our coaches. Our students absolutely adore Mr. Howard. He's probably their #1 cheerleader when it comes to everything and during and all the activities. And most importantly, when official leaves Spring Hill High School, man, I'm sorry. They say that they were treated the best, and that all goes to Gary. Gary does a great job laying the foundation and making sure things get taken care of. So that's it.
We'll make sure he has an SH on his shirt instead of an SV. Stephanie Barnhill, Early Learning Academy.
I would like to recognize the incredible team of teachers, therapists, and paraprofessionals at the Spring Hill Early Learning Academy. Through their hard work, creativity, and dedication, the learning environment at Spring Hill Early Learning immerses our young scholars in real-world experiences and facilitates their learning through play. Parents have continually commented to me about how much their child looks forward to school each day. Some of the little kiddos even call it their special school. The Sheila team is responsible for this. I am fortunate to work with an intuitive team of people that recognizes each child's needs and talents, then supports them in their learning.
I see Tim Meek. He is our Director of Construction coming up here. I think he has a special announcement.
Yeah, J.E. Dunn at there. This is a little different. I'm not actually recognizing a student or a staff member, but I brought these 3 guys along to give me some backup here. Actually, at their annual meetings, they give out several awards to different projects and things like that are going on and to individuals. This year at the meeting, they had 3 awards specifically that were given to people that had been on projects here or on projects here. Jeff Nurnberg, he was our superintendent at Dayton Creek, and he won their 2021 Quality Superintendent of the Year award. Mike Leisinger, Mike is the guy here on the end. You've seen Mike around a number of times. He's our project manager. He's been with us here in Spring Hill basically since we built the football stadium. And Mike was given, I believe it's called the Block and Tackle Award. And I think you got a football helmet, didn't you, for that? And basically I'm talking to Jeremy, and if you guys want to add anything, you can, but it's given to the project manager who goes and dots all the I's, crosses all the T's, does an exceptional job to make sure that when we do things like bid day, that the numbers we get in on that day and the contracts we sign are we're able to make sure that we didn't miss something and people have a way out. You know, the bid scopes and everything else are done right so that we can stay on those numbers. And I can attest that, you know, if they'd asked me if Mike deserves that, I would say most definitely he does a great job of that. But the last one is the one I'm really excited. And if it had just been those two, I probably would have just mentioned in my construction report. So these guys here, two of them are on the site. Jeremy is your senior project manager, or what's your title?
We'll go with that.
Close enough. He used to be a senior project manager or something. Jeremy is in charge of the rest of these guys here, but during their annual meeting, these guys won the 2021 Construction Manager Safety Award for our J.E. Dunn. And that is voted on by the safety people at J.E. Dunn. It's not popularity contest or anything else. It's voted on by the actual people that are out there doing the inspections and stuff. And so the Spring Hill Middle School number 3 project won that this year from them. And quite an accomplishment. You know, I know they hear it from me whenever we have a pre-install meeting or whatever, that it's not just that J.E. Dunn wants that, but it's that me as the director of construction wants it. But it's also our Board of Education. It comes all the way from you guys, that you guys want to have a safe environment. You guys want these guys to go home safe at the end of a day as well. And so it's a culture that, you know, that not is just within their organization, but it trickled down from us, and they know that it's important to us as well. So I just want to recognize them for the hard work that they do to make sure we have a safe work environment for the people that are out here working for us. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Safety's always been so key, and I don't know, you may know off the top of your head how many hundreds of thousands of hours you have in this.
60,000 on just the middle school right now.
60,000?
Yeah, so this team completed Woodland Spring. It's 165,000 man hours with 0 recordable. So actually, I'm kind of wondering why we didn't win last year for these guys who completed Woodland Springs, but I'll have that conversation with the executives back at the company. But to be acknowledged for the work they've done thus far on middle school 3s is great. And we appreciate being acknowledged by you and the board and Tim. When Tim called me, I was humbled that he was going to have us come here to talk about an award that was given out internally within our company. So thank you for the recognition and thank you for the partnership.
Thank you. That focus. So you're over 250,000 hours, right? Is that right, Jeremy? Oh, about around 250,000 hours
Right.
without a recordable.
Yeah, 165,000 was how much we put into Woodland Springs.
And then 60 on the middle school 3. Yeah, so
That's just the 2 projects. I mean,
very good.
That, you know.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a recordable. Where's some wood?
Yeah, I've got some more right here.
Since he's been here on any of his projects, so.
Well, and that's where it comes from.
Like May of 2017.
3-4 years, starting the 5th year.
He built Dayton or Wolf Creek, so he's been around here quite a while as well. So, Wolf
Very
Creek,
good.
in addition on to Prairie Creek.
Prairie Creek and did
Number
stuff all over town.
These 2 buildings and some remodel work, so he's been around a lot. Mike's been around, like I said, ever since we built the stadium. We've just kept him around here going. So
Very good. Well, congratulations, and congratulations to everyone on the recognitions list. It's nice to have a long list like that to work through each week. So well done. Moving on to our next agenda item, which is business with individuals.
There were no cards received.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, which consists of approval of the consent agenda items, approval of the minutes, approval of the special board meeting minutes, personnel and drivers education fees. Comments, discussion?
I will move for approval of the consent agenda, but I would like to just say that it's always hard to see retirements on the personnel items. So we're losing a couple of really good people to retirement. So I hope they really enjoy what they're doing hereafter. So with that, I'll move for approval.
Second.
It's moved and seconded for approval of the consent agenda. Any final questions or comments? Katie, please collect the vote.
Mr. Updike,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
and Mrs. Sealy.
Yes.
Approved.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on to discussion items. First item for discussion is the bond construction update. Dr. Burke?
Yeah, Tim Meek's going to come back here and give us a.
All right, well, not, shouldn't take too long here, so we'll, if I can get it to moving. There we go. No changes to the financials right now. Next month, you will see a change as we do the transfer of funds for Dayton Creek Elementary School. Right there, you'll see the Dayton Creek Elementary School project close out. Final tallies after we checked with Doug and we sat down and made sure everything was correct, is we had a project savings of $116,256. Actually, the construction savings was more than that, but we went over on the FF&E because of the inflation we had with all of the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So we were probably the original 500,000 almost that we transferred in there that we were over on the dirt work. We would have been able to transfer that back if it had only been the construction, or pretty close. So construction went real well. FF&E in the COVID world hit us pretty hard. So the final safety report on that is 68,400 hours of accident-free man hours worked. So next month, you will see that 116,256 put back into the total bond contingency. So we report it this month. Next month, you'll see it go back into the bond contingency. Spring Hill Middle School number 3. Construction began in the spring of 2021. We're still going great guns and are on schedule, and we'll definitely have it open fall of 2023. We're continuing with masonry walls. We're getting all the steel done. The roofers have started. Interior steel studs and framing are going. The mechanic, electrical, and plumbing guys are inside doing some work that they can do until we get the roof on. So all the trades that can be there are there right now. And again, the roofers have started. So we're there, and they're scheduled to get, they've got one load of insulation in there, enough to do the gym and the cafeteria or the kitchen area. The rest of it's going to show up over the next 2 weeks. So they're actually going to man up and bring extra crews because their crews are short work right now. So they're going to have extra crews to come out and work in a couple of areas. So be able to move along a little quicker even than what we thought they could on the roofing, we believe.
Tim, just there were materials issues, right, on the roofing?
There was.
So that's all been resolved?
It has. The biggest thing was fasteners. And I thought I reported this, but I might not have. We were getting ready to go to a different company that had a chemically adhered roof instead of a fastened roof with deals. It's a met all of the insurance requirements and everything else, but Garland, the company we've been using, does not have that type of roof. So it was going to be another company that we would have gone through. They pooled all of the resources in their company, went to every one of their area managers and said, how many screws and fasteners can you get me? They did not want to lose our business. We have been with them for quite a while, and they came through and was able to find enough. They give everybody a company card and told them to buy what you can in your area, and they came up with enough to do our project here. So yeah, and
I'm going to compliment Tim on that too, because that wasn't one of those deals that we did kind of decided. Tim basically said, we're going to put a roof on the school. It needs to be done. And if you guys can't do it, we're going to find somebody else. So credit needs to go to Tim on that as well.
Very good.
The polyiso, the installation was a little bit delayed. It was running a little bit further behind. We were able to get the one part of the gym and the and the kitchen pushed into a small slot they had. So that's why we got 20,000 square feet of it. And that's what they're working on right now while they're waiting on the other to be shipped up here. So we're able to slot some things in there. So challenge and successes, this is actually covering 2 months. So some of this has been done for a while. So Thorne and McInerney, Thorne is our contractor that was doing the asphalt, and they were supposed to be doing the paving, the public roads. Well, they were busy and couldn't get to it. One of the other contractors in the area had a slot. They were willing to let that contractor, McInerney Construction, they had a little slot, and they said, we'll pay you what we had in it. And McInerney said, yeah, we'll do it, keep our people busy. And so we were able to get it paved and all. So good work between the contractors there that, they wouldn't have had to do that, but they wanted to make sure that they met the goals that we had for them. So Builderstone and Masonry have done a great job on getting the masonry walls completed in the locker rooms, and the rest of the buildings, they're just about done with any interior masonry until we get a little bit of steel up that they can do it. They're getting ready to start on exterior masonry as soon as they can. We start getting roof on some areas and stuff that allows us to go ahead and work on the exterior masonry as well. We will be using a little bit of temporary heat and some of those enclosures to do some brickwork and stuff outside, but we have it budgeted. So that's some of the allowance that we have put in there. So we'll be good there. Hard interiors, our exterior skin and metal studs guys, they're doing a great job of getting everything done on the exterior. When you drive by the backside of Wolf Creek, you can look over and you actually see the shape of a building there on the stuff that's not concrete block. Barch Electric continually doing a great job for us. They were a problem contractor, I have to say, a couple of jobs back. Actually, our stadium, we had to work really hard with them back then. They came back, they made us some promises, and we've used them twice now since then, and they've carried through. But they also know that we're not going to let them slack. And they've guaranteed us a superintendent, so continually to perform well. Delta had been a challenge last month, but they've come through and gotten all of the roofing material. So really, it could be considered a success if they get their manpower ready and they go like they should. Doing steel, the overhead steel and decking have had a little bit of manpower issues. So they're lagging a little bit behind, but they actually worked Saturday and are working some of their guys overtime because they're behind on it. No cost to us because they're not meeting the schedule. So
are these schedule impacts? Do they impact what the next craft in line, or are they impacting the end of the project?
They're really impacting the next craft in line more than the end date at this point. But we don't want to have anybody trying to claim that they were impacted by these, and it just becomes a lot of a hassle to say who impacted who and how much was the damage there and everything else. So they realize that they could be on the hook for impacting if somebody had to demobilize and leave and come back because they weren't able to meet their schedule. So yeah. Safety report, accident free for 217 days. So, I'll let you guys look at the pictures. I will stop right here at this one. To me, that's one of the neatest pictures. When you look at 8/3/21 and you see what that ground looks like there. And now you look at how much of the buildings come up out of the ground and everything since 8/3 to 1/5. So, but the other pictures I'll let you look at your leisure. Other construction, the solar panel project, we are waiting on one piece still. And so once we get that piece in, we'll be ready to do a shutdown to get everything installed. And then we'll know that date when the piece finally shows up. So it's amazing what one little piece of equipment can cause you. So And that's pretty much it.
Any questions for Tim?
So,
Thanks, Tim.
Great report as usual.
Thanks. Moving on to middle school number 3, name and colors, Dr. Burke.
Yeah, Christopher Villarreal is here and he's going to kind of walk you through some surveys and some information that we've been working on with some students and parents.
Yes, good evening, board. And I missed my opportunity during recognitions, but I did want to recognize a couple of folks. Hopefully everyone knows that the latest edition of our magazine came out last week, and we had Lorelei Harris on the cover, who is one of our seniors at Spring Hill High School, representing the girls basketball team. And the cover story on Lorelei Harris was written by Annabelle Davis, who is also a student in the journalism program at Spring Hill High School. So I wanted to recognize the two of them for their participation in helping us make the magazine better. And we're hoping, I've been working with Anna Manning, who's the journalism teacher at the high school, to have the journalism students more involved in the publication moving forward. So I wanted to take just a minute to provide them some brief recognition, because I think it's awesome that our students were excited to be involved in the magazine. To be fair, I don't know that Lorelei knew what she signed up for, but she's really happy with what the outcome was. So that was my recognition. On to middle
Can I
school number
interrupt you
3.
really quick and just
Yeah,
tell you
absolutely.
thank you too
Oh,
on the work that you did for that, and you need recognition for that too. And the committee that you put together was really great. And when I looked through and thank you for inviting me to that committee, but I looked through that magazine and flipped through it online too. And I excuse me, I really think you implemented the things that were discussed at that meeting and really reflected what the feedback that you received. So good job and thank you.
very good.
Sorry
Thank
to
you.
interrupt.
So now, as Tim just shared about, middle school number 3 is coming along, and he came to me and said, "Hey, what's the name of middle school number 3?" And I said, "Well, Tim, let me figure that out." So I went back and looked at what the process we used to name all of our other recent schools and replicated that process. So we met at the district level to brainstorm some names, and then we made a determination on the top names and put out a survey to students and parents to give us their input. And that's what I want to share with you today, is the results of that survey. On the student side, it was given to all students in grades 4 through 6 who would potentially attend the 3rd middle school. And we had 459 students respond. On the parent side, it was sent to 575 parents who represent, again, parents whose students would potentially go to the 3rd middle school. And we had about half of them respond to the survey. And I have the breakdown of student results and then the breakdown of parent results. But what I'm going to focus my time on is the combined results. So what I did is, out of the 4 name options that they had, I took the 2 percentages because we had a different total number. Instead of just adding the totals, I took percentages. So that way we would have a more accurate representation of the average vote. So in that, the winning name was Forest Spring Middle School with an average of 28.9%. And I would like to point out that that was also the winning name on the student survey as well. And with a name like Forest Spring Middle School, we felt like we would use one of our secondary colors that we have already, which is green color. So at Wolf Creek, we have Kelly green. At Timber Sage, we have a sage green. And so for Forest Spring, we are hoping for a forest green. So our administrative recommendation for the name of the 3rd middle school is Forest Spring Middle School. And the colors would be, the primary color is Spring Hill Purple, the secondary color would be Forest Green, and the tertiary color would be white. Good. Questions or?
I'm curious, where did Buffalo, Copper, Forest, and Heritage come from?
So that was part of the first step in the process, was getting together a group of stakeholders at the district level and just brainstorming a huge list of names. And so with that group, we looked at a number of different things. We looked at surrounding areas and kind of what names of surrounding areas were. So we didn't have anything conflicting. We also thought about some of the themes that we have within the district already. And so since we had Woodland Spring as the name of our second middle school, going along with that nature theme, we ended up with Forest with the intent of keeping the word spring in the name of the schools for consistency. I did learn something new in this process from Phil, who's a wealth of knowledge. I did not know that our elementary schools had the word creek in them because creeks feed into springs. So
It's with the feeder.
yes.
And just remind the community and the board, the reason we use the word spring instead of springs is a testament back to the school district. So quite a few people say, why don't you say springs? Well, the spring is intentional so that it's the Spring Hills School District. So we do that instead of springs. So FYI.
And to give you an idea of the process moving forward, this will need to come back at another board meeting as an action item where you vote on approving the name. Once the name is approved, we'll go through a process in the fall with the students who would be attending the new middle school to identify a mascot for the school.
Are we out of horses yet?
We'll see.
People bring that up quite a bit, Sharon, and I think it's interesting because Cavaliers and Rangers aren't really horses. And the old middle school used to be, we were the Chiefs. And so will be interesting to see what the kids come up with because there won't be any adult brainstorming in this. This will be, we'll send it out to the kids. We'll bring it down to 4 or 5 choices, then we'll send it back to the kids again and it'll come from the kids.
I think it's cool that the kids vote.
It's a good process. Thank you for doing that. Any questions or discussion for Christopher? Good. Well,
thank you.
Moving on to KSB superintendent search. I think that's me. We did have a conversation with KSB. One of the direction the board gave me at our last meeting was if KSB would guarantee, do a 2-year guarantee instead of a 1-year guarantee, that we would sign a contract with them. Not only did they do that, but they threw in, or I guess we negotiated a second year of superintendent board goal setting as well. It was one of the things that they recommended and thought it would be important to include that as well. So there's the first year there'll be board superintendent goal setting facilitated by KSB, and then there'll also be a second year of that as well. So I think it's a good plan. I did go ahead and sign the contract since it met the requirements that you directed me to operate under. The contract, the workbook that we'll work through, or the guidance we'll work through, and a statute reference that we're required to have should be in your inboxes so that you can have a look at that contract. We will have, and I think we're going to vote on it here in a little bit, a special meeting. During that special meeting, they'll walk through there's 4 different phases to a superintendent search. One of the key pieces of that is establishing the timeline. If you look in the contract, there is a draft timeline. I said, hold on a minute, let's make sure the board agrees to the timeline. And so we'll finalize that timeline during that special meeting. It shouldn't be more than an hour is what KSB has told me for that special meeting. But they'll walk through development of the timeline. We'll walk through setting up the characteristics of a superintendent. One of the things I think we need to make sure we're clear on and we think about during those characteristics is that we're fairly specific on the characteristics we want. We could say integrity. Well, what does that really mean? What behaviors do we want exhibited by an individual so that it's clear and it's observable and you can see it?
Mr. Updike, so this next meeting, I believe it's this week. It's gonna be both the timeline and the characteristics.
Yes, that's my understanding is those two pieces.
Because I thought it was just gonna be.
It's the 18th.
Next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. So it should be timeline and characteristics.
I'll wait till we.
Okay. And then third phase is preparing for the interview. They'll help us prep for that. We need to identify and list and define a list of questions that we'll ask each candidate that they bring to us. And then the final phase is negotiations and a contract for that. So they'll work through that. There's quite a bit of detail in the, I don't remember if they call it a handbook or a workbook, but that they've got. So there's a lot of detail, come with a lot of questions. I think it's important that we're specific. I had a conversation with someone when we were talking about questions is, you can have questions that differentiate between a Rolls Royce and a Toyota Corolla. We don't want that. We want questions that differentiate between a Rolls Royce and a Bentley. That's what we're after, is so that there's a small gap, or we can actually refine and define exactly what we're after, so that the example was integrity. Well, that means something different to each and every one of us. And so we need to come together and have a consensus of what behaviors are actually exhibited by someone of integrity. So anyway, I'm sure they're going to walk through all of this, but we should be good to go as far as a contract, the special meeting. So any questions for me? Okay.
So we can't find the administrators.
Okay, that's all I had. So it's exciting. I think we need to have a sense of urgency around it. It's one of the most important things that we do as a board. And so we'll get moving on it.
On your action items, is there a time?
Yeah, I have a question about the, if we move on to the action item, and also we have that 5th Monday meeting scheduled as well. Can we schedule like our next thing that we have to decide during that? Or do we have some other items that need to go on the agenda for that meeting?
Like
Because there's a 5th
Right.
Monday in,
there's like a work.
there's a work session kind of
Work
already
session day.
scheduled.
31st.
31st.
We intentionally did not put anything on there because we assumed that you wanted to talk about superintendent search.
Okay, so the 18th, I'm just wondering if it's possible for the KSB rep, if there's any way we can move the meeting up to 5:30, because the Shibit tournament is that night and they play at 6:30.
I can certainly get a hold of him, and I wouldn't see a reason why not, but let me double check with him.
If it was any other year, I really would.
Well, that's
And if
fine.
my kid's finger's still broken, it won't be a big deal.
Yeah, we'll check in with them and we can let everybody know. You'll get something. from
I can send him,
Can
I can
you?
send him an email right now.
Okay, good.
If it's doesn't interfere with somebody else's schedule on the other end. So otherwise I might just leave a little early. So.
Okay. Good. It's exciting. Moving on to our action item, which is the special meeting for working with Kansas Association of School Boards on the superintendent search. I believe it was, we'll check and see if it's 5:30 or 6, and Katie can let us
Yeah,
know. on
I'll
that.
let you know as soon as I hear back from him.
Yeah. And I would encourage everyone to read through that information that they recently sent to us, or that was a part of the contract. Any comments or discussions on the special meeting on the 18th?
You need to move in second.
Yep. Mr. President, I move that we schedule a special meeting for January 18th, 2022 at either 5:30 or 6 PM, depending upon availability of the KSB trainer.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to have a special board meeting on January 18th to discuss superintendent search with Kansas Association of School Boards. Any discussions or comments? Katie, please collect the vote.
Before I click the vote, I just wanted some clarification for our newest board member. That information is all under the executive content, just so you knew where to find it in case you were looking for it. All right, we will start the vote with Mrs. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mrs. Sealing,
Yes.
and Mr. Updike.
Yes.
Approved.
All right, moving on
Just a
to,
clarification, are you wanting us to live stream that? Because I think Phil's has to be here anyway, but are you wanting us to go ahead and live stream the special meeting?
I don't know. We haven't in the past. I think this is, if Phil's available, I think it is such an important piece of what we're doing that, I mean, having people have access to see that process is really important as part of transparency. So it would be, yes.
We'll get her done.
Okay.
Or actually Phil will.
Any other questions? Okay, good. Items from Board of Education members for future meetings. Anything to add or remove?
I guess I did have a question. Do we have an update on when we might be doing a food service survey? Have there been any movement on that?
I don't know when JC, I can get with her and find out when she's planning to do a food service survey.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Board work calendar? Dr. Burke?
We're right where we should be. January is busy, but you took care of a lot of that tonight. And one of the things, your board goal revisions, that's the board itself, not necessarily the school district. But I think one of the things that one of your big goals is you have a national conference coming up in April, and I think most of you are signed up for that. And so Katie will confirm when we get closer flights and that sort of thing. But yeah, we're pretty good on the calendar.
Nicole, have you seen the information on the? Okay, good.
She's registered now, right?
All right.
I'm sorry to say,
Good deal. Moving on to committee reports. Any committees?
I listened to it was a recording of the Kansas Advocacy Network. I guess that's what it's called. I don't know if anybody else did, but a couple of things I thought were highlighted in that. They talked a little bit about the Senate Bill 40 and the appeal to the Supreme Court and that kind of thing, but it seems like that is probably kind of dead in the water right now since it expired. They also talked about that they have an education bill status summary that they update pretty much daily on the KSB website. So if you want to look at any legislation that's has anything to do with schools, they have a list of those, and then they keep updates. And then the third thing that I thought was interesting was there were 4 pre-filed bills, all in the House of Representatives, and the laws in Kansas allow legislators to pre-file a bill before the session. So there's one that has to do with computer science education. And then there's one interesting one by a Representative Fairchild that I think we would probably not want to see pass, that if you, it would state that if districts increase their budget, that their teacher salaries have to increase by the same percentage that their budget increases every year, which I think would be really difficult for growing districts to keep up with that. But I don't know, that's just first thought of that. And then there's 2 bills by the same Representative Finney from Wichita, that are Bill of Rights bills for foster care children and for foster care parents. So to give them more, I guess, rights as as it applies, some of it applies to education. So those are just some things to watch.
I have a question on the one about the teacher salaries. Is that the pool of money that goes to teachers? So the more teachers you add, it goes into that, or that's an actual raise per teacher?
They didn't have a lot of details about it, so maybe you guys know more about it. I don't know.
There wasn't a lot of details, and Sharon's exactly right. I mean, about 78% of the districts in the state are not growing. And so to put something on them, it's not that big a deal. But if you're a growing district, our budgets continue to move up, mainly because we're growing so fast.
Yeah. Well,
and
but
so
the teacher budget collectively goes up with that.
But I was under the
as
understanding
long
that was
as
more.
they can continue to follow what the Montoya decision is. And right now there's a big discussion about not following it. So it's interesting that they're saying that it has to correspond with that when a lot of other legislators are saying that they are not necessarily going to continue to fund that, especially at the consumer price index. So that's one of those deals where I don't know if the left hand and the right hand are actually talking to each other.
Any other committees?
I went to the early childhood site council meeting, first ever, and it's really enjoyable. They truly, as she said this evening, they truly they teach through play, and the teachers every three weeks or so will like totally change their room into something else, and they'll just have play, but they're learning their letters and addition and numbers, and it was really a neat program.
I got to brag on Stephanie for a minute, because a few years ago we went to Mansfield, Texas, and we observed what they were doing, and a lot of that was learning through play. And we were doing a little bit of that, but we completely revamped what we're doing it now. And having the new Early Learning Academy in that site gives us so much more flexibility than what we used to have. So that's one of those, you probably ought to pat yourself on the back, because we brought something totally different to you, and you said, go ahead and try it. And it
looks like it's working well.
Well, you just had a Horizon Award winner, and like I said, Science Sally. And if you ever get a chance, you need to watch that. She's amazing, because she does come out in almost a different personality, and the kids get very excited. But to be able to watch that different things and one of the things we're doing is that guided play, but we're stepping back and saying, when they do fishing and they pull out the numbers and they have to put the numbers up, that's not the adults doing that. That's having the kids do it. So very excited to see them do that. It's kind of fun to go see something years ago and now starting to see it implemented. That's really fun.
And although it's slowly evolving and going to get even better, I would encourage you to go call Mrs. Barnhill and ask her to take you on a tour, because it'll be more than worth your time and it'll make your day.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Any other committee reports?
Well, with me being new, do I take on any site councils? You can't put them on.
Yes.
I'm assuming, and I didn't want to assume for the board, but I was assuming that Mrs. Milius would take on Jason's assignments. Is that what the pleasure of the board is?
Yeah. If
Katie should have.
I was going to say, I'm trying to pull it up here. Give me 1 second.
What? Woodland Springs.
Okay, Jason Wimble had Insight School of Kansas and Dayton Creek Elementary.
Do you want, you don't have to take both of them, Nicole. Don't feel obligated to do that. We can find someone else, but it's your call. It's your decision.
Sure. How will they contact me? Do I contact them?
We'll make sure that they both contact
Okay,
you.
perfect. Yeah,
Good.
I'll take them.
All right, thank you. Any other committee reports?
Dr. Burke and I did attend the Johnson County Convener reception last Thursday night. I kind of am a little concerned about the future of that event because I think in the past, there's probably been 300 or 400 people and there was 200 people registered and less than half showed up. So it was a pretty sparse crowd. And I think I only recognize maybe 1 or 2 legislators there. So it's always kind of been an opportunity for you to speak to your legislators, and there weren't very many of them there. So anyway.
That's one thing I was going to talk about in my report. In the past, it was a great time to mingle, and the legislators, especially Johnson County, when we do the barbecue, you almost see all of those same people. And I don't know that we counted more than 4 or 5 legislators. And it was very, you said the word concern. I'm going to say disappointing, because that's what part of that is for, is so that they can kind of come and give us a kind of an update, what they're thinking about that's going to happen with the session. They'll usually have a spokesman that talks to us and then just says, these are the things that the point of emphasis. And there really wasn't much representative from the legislator. There were school board members there. There were Board of County Commissioners there. There were city and county elected officials there, but there really weren't anybody from the state. And I was very disappointed, because in the past, that's one of the times that you can pull somebody aside, say you're from the school district. These are some things that we're concerned about. And that's what that whole convener was for. And very disappointing that, now I do know one of our local officials got back to me, their illness in his family. And, you know, you can't fault somebody for being sick, but there was a large absenteeism that was a little frustrating.
We didn't have it last year.
Right.
Right.
And the year before was pretty well attended. I mean, we talked to a lot of people that year.
Yes.
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if lots of things like that are kind of falling apart. Yeah, fizzling, because it wasn't last year. It's kind of lost momentum or something, but I understand that I would have been disappointed too.
Not too many years ago, we did it at the Zurich building, and they were at that lower area, and it was packed. It was packed. And I'm not just talking about people there to see it, but representatives, and I mean, very large cross-section of representatives. And again, what better way to, a lot of the elected officials, other than legislators, get there and kind of mingle and talk. And I don't know, it was just frustrating. I do appreciate the people that are there, so I don't want to discount that, because there were people that took the time to be there, but it was frustrating.
I think it's nice to hear that one of them reached out to you still and said he had an illness in his family. So that's appreciated. I'm sure I know who that is.
Any other committee reports? Superintendent report, Dr. Burke?
Yeah, it's getting late and I don't want to spend too much time. One thing I am going to encourage the board is you go through the superintendent search. You're going to talk to a lot of the patrons, and hopefully you actually get some input from students as well. There's a couple of groups that I really think this is very important to make sure you get feedback. First of all, the staff. And so when I say staff, I mean, we have classified and certified staff, and it'd be nice to get some kind of input from them. The other group that I would definitely make sure you talk to is the administrative cabinet. I mean, someone brought up the other day that you visit with me maybe 1 or 2 or 3 times a month, maybe a few times in between. They work with the superintendent every day. And so I think it would be very important. I just want to throw out there that to get some input for them, or even consider having a representative to interviewing with you. So, but we did talk a little bit today about a change, transition, and leadership when someone's leaving, somebody else is coming in and making that preparation. And so I will say I'm very proud. Our administrative staff is loaded with talent, and you've done a great job of allowing us to hire really good people. And so with that said, it's never, it was easy to say, I want to retire once I made that decision, but I'll tell you what, it's just getting harder each time that we talk about it. So, but it's been a great district, great community, and it's only going to get better. So that's all I have.
I do appreciate you saying that. Just as I've been in the schools, I've asked 3 of the principals, like, would you be willing, if we as a board came to you, and all 3 of them said, we'd really appreciate that. And exactly what you said, I thought, how often are they talking to you all day long? And I even asked one of them, so how often do you talk to Dr. Burke? And he said, well, about 10 minutes ago. So it impacts our entire district, but it impacts their lives and their schools so closely. So I don't know how we do that or what we do, but I would love to find a way to make sure that we're communicating regularly with them.
Sure. I'm sure we should bring that up with KSB next week.
Okay.
As a talking point, certainly.
I mean, I think we need to get input from a lot of people. I don't mean just them, but they are the
Yeah.
closest to.
They don't even have to live with it. Or live with the music.
Yeah. We are adjourned.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.